The sun rose slowly over Maplewood, a modest American town where front porches were decorated with flags left over from the 4th of July, and neighbors still greeted one another by name. On Cedar Lane, the smell of fresh pancakes drifted from the kitchen of the Harper home. Judge Eli Harper, 61, gray-bearded and steady-eyed, sat at the dining table reading the Maplewood Gazette. He wore his usual Monday expression, calm, thoughtful, the face of a man who took his work seriously without letting it invade his home life. Across from him, his wife Linda, a retired schoolteacher, placed a plate of pancakes beside his paper. "Busy day," she asked. Eli sighed. Constitutional hearing. States pushing an emergency request to bypass standard procedure in a homicide case. They're claiming public safety. Linda frowned. Shortcutting the Constitution never ends well. You know that. He knew. He'd spent decades teaching younger lawyers and judges that rights matter most when they're inconvenient. Their daughter, Hannah, 18 and buzzing with senior year excitement, rushed in and grabbed a granola bar. "Dad, you better not go viral again today." She laughed. "My friends still quote that video where you yelled at the defense attorney." "I did not yell," Eli said. "You pointed," she said, imitating him dramatically, very aggressively. Linda smiled warmly. "Be fair, hon. Your father takes the Constitution to heart." Eli kissed them both goodbye and headed to the courthouse, unaware that today would test that conviction more than any day before. By 9 a.m., the Maplewood County Courthouse hummed with the familiar Monday morning electricity, attorneys juggling coffee cups, clerks tapping through motions, the metallic shuffle of handcuffs echoing off the marble floors. Inside courtroom 3B, Judge Harper took a seat. His eyes scanned the room. At the prosecution table sat Assistant District Attorney Brent Wallace, a sharply dressed, ambitious 35-year-old who had built a reputation for treating court like a competitive sport. Wallace wore a confident smirk as if the verdict was already in his favor. Beside him sat Detective Leo Vargas, a seasoned cop whose face showed the exhaustion of someone who had slept poorly for several nights. The defendant, Marcus Green, a quiet 24-year-old grocery store clerk, sat beside his public defender, Sarah Lynn, a brilliant but perpetually overworked attorney. "Ready on the motion?" Eli asked. Wallace stood. "Your Honor, the state moves to limit the defense's ability to cross-examine key witnesses. The public safety risk is too great, and we believe the court should allow us to withhold some procedural elements." Sarah blinked in disbelief. "Your Honor, the state is asking to sidestep Marcus's constitutional rights. The right to confrontation is literally written into the Sixth Amendment." Eli turned his gaze to Wallace. "You're asking to block the defense from questioning the witnesses who may put my client in prison for life," she continued. "This is not public safety. This is convenience." Wallace shrugged. "It's not a big deal. We're trying to save time." The courtroom went still. Judge Harper lowered his glasses. "Mr. Wallace, the Constitution doesn't bend because you're in a hurry." Wallace's jaw tightened. "Your Honor, respectfully." But the disrespect was already simmering. Eli could see it in the prosecutor's posture, his dismissive tone. And it reminded him too much of the days he'd spent as a young attorney, watching judges allow shortcuts that trampled fairness. "Proceed with arguments," Harper said, controlling his irritation. The temperature of the room seemed to shift. Everyone felt that this wasn't a normal hearing. Wallace approached the podium with swagger. "The defense is using delay tactics," he insisted. "If we allow full cross-examination, we risk the witnesses feeling unsafe or intimidated. We must prioritize the community's protection." Sarah shot up. "There's no evidence of witness intimidation." "None." Wallace smirked. "Your client is accused of murder. That's intimidation enough." Judge Harper tapped his pen sharply. "Mr. Wallace, you're skating toward a constitutional violation." Wallace stepped closer to the bench, his voice rising. "With all due respect, Your Honor, maybe it's time this court stops worshiping the Constitution like it's some sacred relic. We need results, not." Gasps erupted through the courtroom. Judge Harper froze. Detective Vargas closed his eyes as if bracing for a storm. Sarah's jaw dropped. Eli Harper stood slowly, the wood of the bench groaning under his deliberate movement. "Mr. Wallace," he said, voice low and thunderous. "Step back." Wallace didn't. "Your Honor, I'm only saying—" "Step back." The entire room jolted. Wallace stepped backward, face reddening. Eli's voice carried a weight that came not from authority, but from belief. "Let me make something perfectly clear," he said. "The Constitution is not a relic. It is the living contract between the government and the governed. It is the foundation of every freedom we cherish. And in this courtroom, it is not optional. It is not flexible. And it is not ever disrespected." Sarah looked at Marcus, who whispered, "Your judge is fierce." Wallace tried to interrupt. "Your Honor." Eli raised a hand sharply. "Not another word. You asked this court to ignore constitutional protections because they're inconvenient. That request alone is egregious. But to call the Constitution a relic? In my courtroom?" The silence was so deep the air felt thick. No one, no prosecutor, no defendant, no judge is above the Constitution. Eli said, "And if you cannot uphold it, then you are in the wrong profession." Wallace swallowed hard, his arrogance visibly wilting. That evening, Eli returned home exhausted. He dropped his briefcase by the door and loosened his tie before Linda wrapped him in a gentle hug. "You look like you argue with a bear," she said. "A prosecutor," Eli responded, which is sometimes the same thing. They sat at the table while Hannah reheated leftover lasagna. The warmth of home softened Eli's rigid posture. "What did he say?" Hannah asked. Eli sighed deeply. "He implied the Constitution was outdated, that we should treat it like an inconvenience." Hannah rolled her eyes. "That's like saying the rules of Uno are optional just because someone wants to win faster." Eli chuckled. "Not the analogy I'd pick, but yes." Linda touched his hand. "You did the right thing. Your integrity is what makes you a good judge." He nodded, but inside he wrestled with doubt. Was he too harsh? Did standing up so aggressively undermine the courtroom's professionalism? Or was it necessary? Before bed, he walked to his small study, lined with shelves of legal texts and family photos. On his desk sat a framed copy of the Bill of Rights, a gift from Linda on their 10th anniversary. He touched the glass lightly. "Not a relic," he whispered. Outside, children played basketball on a driveway under the warm streetlights, their shouts echoing into night, a reminder of the freedoms people took for granted. He knew tomorrow would bring consequences. The next morning, the courthouse parking lot buzzed with murmurs. Word had spread. Someone had posted a blurry video clip of the hearing on social media. It had already hit 50,000 views overnight. Inside the courtroom hallway, Wallace waited, arms crossed, eyes darkened with resentment. "You embarrass me," he hissed as Eli walked by. "I didn't embarrass you," Eli replied. "Your words did." Wallace stepped closer. "You're biased. You're defending the defendant." "I'm defending the Constitution," Eli said firmly. "It protects everyone, even you." Wallace stormed off. When court resumed, Detective Vargas unexpectedly approached the bench. "Your Honor," he said quietly, "I need to correct the record." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "The prosecution pressured me to withhold certain evidence," Vargas said. "Evidence that helps the defense." I didn't feel right, especially after yesterday." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Sarah stood, stunned. "Detective, are you saying there is exculpatory evidence the state intentionally concealed?" Vargas nodded. "Yes." Wallace jumped his feet. "He's lying." Vargas glared at him. "No, I'm not." Judge Harper's voice stayed calm, but the gravity was unmistakable. "Mr. Wallace," he said, "approach the bench." Wallace stiffened. "You will explain to this court why exculpatory evidence was withheld," Eli said, "and why you considered rights to be an inconvenience." Wallace's facade finally cracked. I just wanted to win," he said. "The case looked bad in the media. The DA's office wanted a quick conviction. I thought—" He trailed off. Eli exhaled slowly, a long, disappointed breath. "Court will take a recess," he said. "Mr. Wallace, you and I will be having a separate conversation with the Ethics Board." Wallace slumped into his chair. Sarah squeezed Marcus's shoulder. "You might actually have a chance." Marcus whispered, "Feels like someone finally listened." 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed for the final hearing. Thanks to Detective Vargas's honesty, the hidden evidence had revealed that Marcus had a solid alibi, verified by timestamp security footage and corroborating witnesses. The prosecution formally withdrew the charges. Judge Harper addressed the room. "Before we adjourn, I want to say this," he began. "The legal system is built on trust. Trust that attorneys will be ethical, that judges will be fair, and that the Constitution is our guiding light, not a suggestion. When someone tries to shortcut it, the entire foundation cracks." Marcus stood beside Sarah, tears in his eyes. "Mr. Green, you are free to go," Eli said warmly. "This court wishes you peace and healing." After the hearing, Marcus approached the judge. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for caring." Eli smiled. "The Constitution cared first. I just followed it." Outside, the late autumn breeze rustled the maple trees, lining the courthouse steps. Families waited in cars, kids played on the grass, and the ordinary rhythms of American life pulsed around them. Eli walked toward his car, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The Constitution had been tested again and had held firm, and so had he.